So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of Mind Boost. I hope you're all doing amazing, that you're having a wonderful and fantastic day. And thank you so much for once again watching my content in general, and this video in particular right now. Really means a lot to me and I really appreciate it. But anyways, today, as you might have seen on the title already, I want to talk about a very personal thing, which is the passing of my dad, or like when the time when my dad passed away a few years ago. And all the things that I kind of learned from this experience, because obviously it wasn't a very good and pleasant experience in my life, but nonetheless it was a very important experience in my life, and I'm pretty sure, for a fact, I learned a lot of things because of this thing. And yeah, so that's exactly what I want to talk about on today's episode of Mind Boost. I took some notes, just to have some guidance points, about the things that I want to talk about. So anyways, the first thing that I want to touch on, with this whole topic, when I was, a little kid, oftentimes, I've watched all these movies, and I'm pretty sure, we all know this situation, a movie, and in this movie, a parent, a mother, a father, your loved one, your best friend, whatever, passed away. And oftentimes, at least that was the case in my situation, I was like, damn, okay, that sucks, I could never imagine, that something like that would happen to me, but this could never happen to me, right? Because that's just a movie, and they're also so small that something like that actually might happen to me. So I had this strong belief, something like that can never happen to me. I mean, I was still a small kid, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I kind of, had this illusion that something like that couldn't happen to me. And I also think that's kind of normal, that every single one of us is kind of telling himself or herself, okay, look, this cannot happen to you, right? Because we kind of don't want to accept that this eventually will happen to us, right? Because that's just nature, that's how our life works. But anyways, one thing happened, and another thing happened, and eventually my dad passed away. And that situation, obviously I was done with life. Back then, I remember, the day exactly, the moment, where the hospital called, hey, look, we are very sorry, but your dad didn't make it. I remember, this moment, to this day in my life, even though it's 12 years, have passed since this moment. But anyways, I still remember this very vividly, and I think I will always remember this moment because it was so, big and important. But anyways, when this happened, I realized, okay, damn, actually this can happen to me, all of the times before this actually happened, I was watching those movies, like I mentioned, and I was telling myself, no, this cannot happen to you. It's just a movie, it's just fantasy, it's just an illusion, but yet it happens to me. And for a very long time, I didn't really know, how to cope with the situation. I mean, obviously, it was my dad, I think for every son, his dad is one of the most important, figures, in his life, especially when you are a young guy or a young kid. So I didn't really know what to do with that situation, but eventually I realized, okay, this can happen to me actually, but also when this can happen to me, then also all those positive things can happen to me as well, all those beautiful, magical, coincidences and experiences that you tend to see on television, on movies, right? Because when this can happen to me, why shouldn't all those positive things also, happen to me? Why shouldn't it be possible that they happen to me? So, after some years I had, this realization. I understood, okay, we are all just human beings, is what I'm trying to say here. Don't think that something cannot happen to you. And I'm not only talking about the negative things, or about the sad things. I'm also once again talking about the positive things that you see on movies, or when you read about a person on the internet, that I don't know, won 5 million, because, you know, he or she played like the lottery, like whatever, like those crazy one in a lifetime coincidences. Like all those things can happen to you as well, because, you know, we are all just human beings at the end of the day, right? Another thing that I want to talk about, like that I want to touch on, that this whole situation, you know, really learned me, is not to take life too seriously. Because before that, you know, and I think a lot of us can actually relate to this, you know, especially in our everyday life, you know, we are confronted with work, school, university, problems in a relationship, you know, like taxes, money, like all those things, right? Like endless amounts of things. And obviously, like those things aren't really nice and they kind of destroy us in a way. But after, you know, this thing happens to me, I realized, look, like all those things, sure, like they might suck, of course, like not like having money problems or like, you know, problems with school, university, this and that. It isn't nice, obviously, right? But it's really not that important. So you really shouldn't make it, you know, as big, because it really isn't as big, you know. It's only as big as you allow it to be inside of your head, you know, in your mind. And once again, to get back to the point, like, you know, the time, like the moment when my dad really passed away, I realized, look, okay, we are like on this planet Earth and we have a very, very limited time, you know. And the only thing that really matters is, you know, experiencing life, you know, to the fullest, you know, being the happiest version of yourself, like, you know, meeting amazing people, you know, being in love, traveling the world, like all those things, like just, you know, generally speaking, just following your heart, you know, and not taking those small things, those small, you know, minor inconveniences that might happen to you on a day-to-day basis, to not take them, you know, too seriously, because you really shouldn't, because it's kind of a waste of time and energy if you really focus on those small things. Because when, you know, when something like that happens to you, you realize that those things don't mean like anything, to be honest with you. Like they really don't, you know. The only thing that matters is being alive, first of all, being able to experience this beautiful world and like life that we live in on this beautiful planet, and just enjoying life, you know, and being grateful that you are able to be alive, you know, in this moment, because that's really not promised, you know. So whenever possible, like remind yourself about this, like of this, and really focus on what matters in life, you know, and don't get distracted by those small things, because at the end of the day, you will be gone anyways, you know, and those things, you won't even, you know, be able to think about them like in like 5, 10, or even 20 years, right? I mean, yeah, the next point that I wrote down here in my journal is, I mean, it's kind of correlated with the thing that I just talked about, you know, just doing what you really enjoy doing, just following your heart, you know, because once again, life is very, very short. And, you know, because back then, when my dad was still alive, I always saw like, okay, when I'm older, you know, I want to do this and this with him, you know, I want to experience this and this with him. I want to show him what I'm able and capable of doing with, you know, with business, like with my life in general, this and this. And it didn't happen, you know, because my dad, you know, unfortunately passed away back then when I was, you know, a small kid. And this, you know, once again showed me like life is really short and life can change like in a matter of seconds, like literally, you know. Like in the next 10 seconds, your life maybe might be completely, like drastically different, you know. I mean, obviously it's always a matter of how you look at it, because it can be a good thing but also a bad thing, you know. It's always how you look at it. But the thing that I'm really trying to say here is, you know, right now, really enjoy your life, because you will be gone someday, you know. Someday you won't be able to go to that place that you always wanted to visit. You won't be able to go to that awesome new fancy restaurant in your city that just opened up, or like, I don't know, you won't be able to, you know, tell that person that, hey, I love you, you know. You won't be able to tell your best friend how much he means to you, like how much she means to you. You won't be able to do all these things one day, because once again, one day you will be gone, because life, you know, the time we have on this earth is very, very limited. Like, you know, everything is temporary. So, you know, whatever you do, just be the happiest version of yourself right now, and like, you know, only focus on spreading positivity, love and good energy, and be grateful for everything, because once again, those things aren't promised. So enjoy your whole life as long as you can, and like all those people that are still around you right now. So yeah, the next point, I'm sorry, I just have to take a sip because I'm really thirsty. The next thing that I want to touch on, gratefulness, like being grateful for the people that are around you in your life right now. You know, I think on a day-to-day basis, because, you know, to get back to the first point, because we are so lost and, like, you know, so distracted by all those things that are happening to us on a day-to-day basis, we tend to forget how blessed we are to have, like, you know, your mother, like your dad, your best friend, your partner around you in your life right now, right? There comes a point where we really forget to appreciate it, and we kind of take it as granted. I mean, obviously, you know, we tell ourselves like, yeah, no, I'm aware of that, like I'm really grateful for that, but that's not true, you know, because if you would really be, like, you know, deep down from the bottom of your heart, if you would really be grateful for that person, you would act differently. So, you know, just to show you once again, like really, really be grateful, and also show that to those people, you know, like tell those people, your loved ones or like whoever it might be, how much they mean to you, how much they actually mean to you. Because once again, you know, back then when I was small, you know, before my dad passed away, I always was like, yeah, I appreciate my mom and my dad, you know, like obviously I'm so happy to have them. But it wasn't like, you know, this deep feeling of gratitude, you know. I kind of took it as granted. And then, you know, this happened and my dad, you know, passed away. And then I realized, damn, okay, I should have told him, like, you know, like more often that he's really, really important to me, that I'm very, very grateful to have him in my life, you know. Back then when I still had the possibility, like the opportunity to still do so. So yeah, I mean, like those things, you know, you are always like smarter after something happened to you. I mean, in most cases when you learn something from that. But I think it's important to, you know, to address something like that when you already experienced that, right? Because I know, like, you know, for a lot of people watching right now, you maybe, you know, you weren't like in that kind of situation in your life, and I'm really, really happy for you if that's not the case for you, because it's really not, you know, anything to be happy about, because it's like it's a very life-changing situation that, you know, can literally break people, you know. I personally, I was also like on the, you know, on the fence, or like on the line to really break, you know. It was very, very close, but like also one of the reasons why I think I kind of managed to, you know, get through that whole situation is, you know, because of my beautiful mother, you know, because we kind of went through this whole situation together, and, you know, she was always there for me. I also tried to be there for her, you know, even though I was like, you know, like 10 years old back then, you know, but we didn't really have family or like, you know, anyone around us, because, you know, my family originally is from Poland, you know, I've been living in Austria my whole life together with my mom, so we only had, you know, us, you know, each other pretty much. So we really kind of build ourselves up again, and for that I'm very, very grateful, you know. To get back to the point, I'm really grateful that I, you know, had and like still have such an amazing mother that, you know, really showed me that, you know, whatever happens to you, you can still really make everything happen and like make everything work for you. It's all a matter of perspective, you know, it's all a matter of how you look at something, because once again, back then, you know, like my mom and I, we could have, you know, decided, okay, our life is over, you know, it sucks, it's so unfair, you know, like why doesn't it happen to other people, why does it happen to us, like why did it happen to us, and just like be done with our lives completely, right? But if we would have decided to do so, I wouldn't be speaking to you right now, you know, to this camera, and for that I'm really, really grateful, because, you know, at the end of the day, life goes on, and I think the fact that you are alive is such a big blessing and like such a huge gift, and you really should be grateful for this gift and like really experience, you know, the full gift pretty much, right? And not like, you know, spend the rest of your life miserable and sad and depressed just because, you know, one thing happens to you, and kind of waste the rest of your life, you know, the years that you still have on this planet. So that's also something I really wanted to address. And another thing, I mean, I kind of touched on it already right now. There's always two sides to everything, you know. No matter if we are talking about, you know, family, love, business, or like, you know, things that happen to you on a day-to-day basis, you know, to get back to the core basics. it's always a matter how you look at something, right? Something happens to you. I mean, let's get back to the point with my dad, because I mean, that's what this episode is about. Let's say, this thing happened and I could have decided, to be miserable, once again. I could have decided, okay, my life is over right now, right? But I didn't do so, I decided, okay, it's really tragic, it really sucks. I mean, sucks is like maybe not the appropriate word right now, but you get what I mean. That this happened to me, but it already happened, I can't do anything about it anymore. And I still have like all those years in front of my life, like my whole teenager life, my young adult life, my adult life, my grandpa life. I mean, who knows how long I will be here on this planet, but I still have so much to experience, pretty much, right? So why kind of destroy all those things and close those possibilities and close those doors, just because this happened once again, right? And you see, the thing that I'm trying to say here is that this thing, I mentioned it at the beginning of this episode already, it was life-changing, and I mean, I guess that's kind of obvious in many ways, At the beginning, it kind of broke me, but also it made me realize a lot of things. I really learned a lot of things from this experience, and I kind of implemented the stuff that I learned onto my personal life, onto my business, and like onto people around me, pretty much, right? And right now I have this kind of philosophy of life, if you want to call it like that, to just, do whatever really, kind of fulfills me. Whatever I really want to do, what brings me joy, what my heart really wants to do, right? I oftentimes talk about following your heart, following your passion, and that's what life is all about. That's why I also don't, pay too much attention to, actual money or like to actual possessions, because obviously, I like those things. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I like luxury, I like money, like almost every single one of us, because, let's be honest, those things are kind of necessary to a certain extent as well, like especially money, right? If you want to experience certain things. But it's really not everything, because back then, I had like, I don't quite remember who actually said that, but, I think it was a friend, like, and like a family, I don't know, like it doesn't matter anyways, but it was something like, like money alone, like, being super rich won't make you happy when you are alone. And I mean, that's a very basic and like cliche thing to say. I mean, I think, every one of us, has heard this once in their life already. But back then I was like, yeah, sure. Like, when I'm rich, like, like I got this, I don't need anyone, I just want to have my Ferrari, like my eyes out roll, like whatever. But after something like that happens to you, you actually realize, damn, like that's actually not everything. And also like, because especially the last year with my business and everything, I had like the most profitable, year in business, and I was really able to experience a lot of things. I really met amazing people, this and that. I'm really like beyond grateful that, I was able to experience those things. But still, like those things alone, they don't bring you happiness. What brings you happiness is, having people around you that really care for you, that really understand you, that, deep down from the bottom of their heart, that they love you and that you love back, because it really, like, trust me, I've been there. It's like having success and being completely alone, in that state of having success, it will make you happy, like, at least a little bit, but like maybe 10%. But when you can share like, this feeling of success and joy with other people that you really love, this feeling of happiness will increase by 90%. It will be like at 100, That's the thing. And sometimes, I think, I wonder what my dad would have, tell me right now, like, what he would think about me right now, where I am in life, the things that I've done, the things that I'm doing right now. And sometimes, it's kind of sad that I'm not able to show him, or like, to talk with him about those things, because I always wanted to make him proud, even when I was a little kid. And he was like also very proud of me, back then. And like I had this strong feeling to always make him like the proudest dad, on earth. So yeah, it sucks sometimes that I'm not really able to do that right now, but still, like, you know, call it cringy or like, I don't know, but for me personally, I feel like, you know, he still knows, you know, in a way. You know, I don't know if I believe in like, you know, ghosts or like, you know, those kind of things, but I definitely believe in energy and like those kind of things. So I do believe that in some way, like he's kind of, you know, watching me, like me and my mom, for example, or like, you know, in this case, and that he kind of knows what I'm doing. And I guess, you know, like I hope that, you know, that you are proud of me, what I'm doing. You know, that's my biggest goal, pretty much, to make my dad proud and to make my mom proud. You know, like my mom and my dad are like the two most, you know, important people in my life, and like the most influential people that I had and still have in my life. You know, I learned a lot of things from both of them. Sometimes more positive things, sometimes more negative things, but you always need, you know, this balance in order to really develop your own personality, right? So yeah, you know, once again, just wanted to share this message with you, because if you haven't experienced something like that, it's really difficult to actually understand how it feels like. And once again, I don't wish any one of you watching right now that something like that will happen to you, like in the near future, because, you know, one day it will happen eventually, right? But the more you are aware of those things, like the more you are grateful for those people right now, I think the more you can make out of this whole thing while it still lasts, you know. So I don't know, like the goal of this video is, I guess, like after this video, tell your mom, your parents, your dad, you know, your sister, brother, your loved ones, or like whoever, like take your phone if you're on like next to them right now, like call them or like write them like a WhatsApp message, or like, you know, an iMessage, like, I don't know, and tell them how much you really value, love, and respect them. And like, don't write them a message like, hey, you know, like you're really important. Like, no, like really take the time, go deep down into your feelings, into your heart, like really think about it, that you have them right now in your life, you know. I mean, imagine for a second how it would be if they wouldn't be in your life. In most cases, it would be really, really, you know, sad, you know, to keep it short and simple. So really tell them, like, you know, take the time, take like 5 minutes. I mean, what is 5 minutes, you know? And tell them how much you really respect, love, and value them, you know. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you're still watching, always remember that life is beautiful, you know. Like, I will never change my opinion or perspective on that. Life is the most beautiful thing that we have, and like I'm the happiest person. Like I'm so grateful that I'm able to even sit, you know, right here, like talk to the camera, like talk to you, and like share those things, you know, with you. Like I'm really happy for that, you know. So life is beautiful, life is amazing, and always focus on that side of things, you know, because there's always two sides to that. So always focus on the positive side of things, because when you do so, you will only see and attract more positivity. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Also, you know, like big love, you know, to you, Dad. I hope you're doing good, you know. So yeah, I love you, Dad. And to you guys, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.